Okay, we're starting a broadcast of the July 2014 GDG Nashville Meetup. We're going to have introductions and a couple of topics we're talking about first, and then I'll get into my main topic. But first, we got intros.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started in a second. Welcome to the Nashville Mobile Development User Group, also serving as the Google Development Group for Nashville. We have a couple changes on our presence. We're no longer GDG Music City, we're GDG Nashville. We're going to start using G+ a little bit more, talk a little more about some topics in depth that we can do on Meetup. Meetup will primarily be used just to talk about when the meeting is but definitely go to the G+ side afterwards. The extra stuff. First thing we have tonight, Google Domains has issued a 5 million beta. We have codes available for anyone who can register domain. Interested? It's one code per account, right?
No, one code per account, and each code lets you register one $12 a year domain for free, or transfer a domain for free.
So we've got a ton of these invites. We'll put your information on the survey if you're interested. We'll put that code out to you. I haven't used it personally, but I think you registered. We've got a new site today, GDG-Nash.org.
GDG-Nash.org.
I don't know how much we'll do with that, but here's what we're looking for in the last part of the year. We're going to be doing Android E and Android Web. What are we doing? Yeah, because I want you like that. You can write this one. I've got a bunch of good stuff on my dimension, so we're going to be playing with that, exploring a little bit, see what goes in. I'd like to get a presentation on Swift, the successor to Objective-C. Working on that. Hopefully we'll have that either August or September. And because we need so late in the month, we usually don't do November or December, so August is the last week of the year. Pretty sure I want to have an iOS versus Android case. People are always talking about which is better. Well, let's prove it. Let's talk about it. What I like for everyone is I need some nominations for people that best represent the platform. With a little bit of speed raw. And also I'd like questions that we can present. We'll be in panel discussion format. The idea is really not to bash on the platform. It's not about which is better. It's about understanding the differences that you have. And what you may be missing out on. So we'll look at that.
We're going to get a BlackBerry export in there too?
Yeah, Windows Phone as well, sure. We'll be giving away a Nokia phone for that.
I think I have a spare one.
It's only in its case somewhere. I'd like to talk about green public charter schools. We're trying to get back a little more to the community here. Is that good?
Yeah, I guess talking with, so we're talking about what else could we do in an interesting way to integrate more community people outside of web development. And so I remember back in my mind, I was like, man, I talked to somebody about like teaching kids computer science. And so I sat down and went through my email, couldn't figure it out. And it was like, it might be Google Plus or something. Somewhere like I don't super often check. And I went back and said, oh yeah, so this was the one. So I found this thing called the Public Charter Schools. One of my friends does the director something for it. And basically the idea is that they were trying to teach computer science and programming concepts at a younger age. So I think they have 2 5th grade classes and an 8th grade class this year. And so he wanted to do kind of an extracurricular thing once a month on Saturdays. So like a 3-hour class with the 8th graders, where basically it'll be taking the 15 best and brightest students of the group who want to learn a little extra, maybe they want to kind of have fun, learn a little more, I guess is the concept. And we talked about it for a little while, and we thought it'd be fun to do something mobile related, since sort of mobile. And something creative, something kind of creative keeps us going. So you're not just making a calculator, you're doing something a little more customizable, more personal, stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of making mobile web games, and by games I don't mean something super complicated. We're not dragging hard on or anything. It'll probably be like a text-based adventure game, like a robot that knows a lot about you and can type in questions and ask it stuff. kind of basic ways for them to go through, if then, or while I is less than 3, I plus plus, kind of your basic things like that. I'll try to keep it fun. And so, like that thing says, 3-hour Saturday session using a pre-made lesson plan. We're coming up with all the lessons. They'll have games and trivia questions and PowerPoint stuff, examples. All the resources should all be there. The idea is just to get a bunch of different people teaching, like a different person every month, to show kids that, like, computer programmers, we aren't people who just hide little cakes all day long. We're real people. We live and breathe in them. So that's kind of the idea. And yeah, it covers basics of Java, HTTP, HTML, basic JavaScript. We're going to build the curriculum as it goes. We'll see kind of how the first couple turn out. How much can they learn? Maybe we overestimated, maybe we underestimated. Let me know if you're interested. I'll be up there somewhere. But I'm Zach and Colin. Talk to me afterwards. I'll be hanging out. That sounds like something interesting to you. Fun time to hang out some things, teach you some cool stuff.
So you're looking at starting this around September, still working on the curriculum right now?
Yeah, exactly. I think the first class will be September. It might be me and the guy under named Ryan York. And so it might be me and Ryan teaching the first one, just to kind of see how it works, the logistics figured out. Then after that, it'd be one of us would probably help set up everything, make sure you've got projector figured out, computer figured out, everything. And maybe you could just say anything out and be teaching.
So, age range?
It'll be 8th grade. It'll be during the school year. I'm not sure actually. But it'll be at school. Yeah.
Using the students of that school.
Yes. It'll be the same students who are in the computer science classes that we're doing together. So they'll already be taking some computer science stuff. And I think they meet with a handful of new students as tutors every Friday afternoon. So one of the ideas is that you'll be teaching a lot of stuff, and then they'll have homework at the end, and they'll work on it with the tutors. So then by the next time the next person comes up, you should be able to talk about what they know.
So you're not looking for people to teach every Saturday?
Correct, yes, just once a month. It'll be one thing you volunteer for, maybe 2. That's all I'm doing. So it's kind of a fun opportunity for that for Saturday. Sounds like fun.
This is great, especially if you're going to go out. It forces you to rethink it from the think about what you're doing. So, great way to break out of the rest.
Yeah, and if you've never used Play before, the Play framework, so we're going to try to base it off of. Just it's easy to write a little bit of stuff without cluttering. We try to teach like an 8th grade string and find some trouble there. So it's a little more simple. But at the end, they should have something they can show on their phone, they can show on their computer.
And again, the material is already pre-packaged.
Right, it's pre-packaged, so yeah, not to make anything up. Just kind of read over it and
Is the school here in Nashville or
it'll be in Nashville. Yeah, it's somewhere here in Nashville.
So if you're interested, there'll be a spot on the survey you can indicate. And for anyone trying to learn Android development themselves, you've asked me if I'm doing Android. I gotta get the video.
Learning to develop on Android is much more than learning APIs and shortcuts. It's training your brain to think like a mobile developer. Android Fundamentals, developed with Google, tells the story of Android's history while you build a real app. Exposing you to current APIs and battlefield experience that will help you think and code like a seasoned Android developer. For more information, visit udacity.com/Google.
So I like this approach a lot because it's far more than syntax when you're doing you need to learn how to tackle certain problems. And I think this course is going to approach that. There'll be a link on the G+ site that goes into it. Now, the video course is $150, but you can go and get the course for free if you're going to work with the book. So I'll have that on the G+ site. Now we have our Commodore.
First, don't you want to give out the survey link so that they can maybe do it before we get to the end?
Well, we can introduce.
All right. Okay. Today we plan to talk about the Google Web Toolkit, and before I go into any kind of presentation, I want to precede everything that I say by saying I don't consider myself a GWT expert. I just am kind of a fan. I like the idea, and I've developed a couple of apps in it, but that doesn't make me like the best guy ever to do your app if you're wanting to do that. I just have done a couple of apps in it and I like it. Now, what we have, I've put together a kind of a crappy little presentation that should help us at least explain the topics a little bit, but wrong window. Just a minute, please. Oh, there it is. Okay. And like I said, I don't have all the experience in the world with this, but I've done a couple of apps and I like it. So I can tell you about the framework and about how to get started with it. More advanced things, I think, would probably be a better topic for another meeting. And if anybody is interested in that, we can definitely talk about that, like at the end of this meeting. Maybe having an advanced GWT meeting if you guys are interested. First off, to introduce it, what is the GWT, and you know, where do I go to find that out on Wikipedia? GWT is an open source set of tools that allows web developers to create and maintain complex JavaScript front-end applications in Java. So basically, you write everything in Java, and you probably, most of you already know this. You write everything in Java, and then there's both a real-time compiler that does everything so you can run it in like a debugger, and there's another ahead-of-time compiler that you run. That compiles everything down to JavaScript, and then that's what you would deploy to your dev server or production server or whatever. When GWT was launched in 2006, it's been around for a while. It was basically a remedy for Internet Explorer 6, which even back then everybody was saying was like, you know, not obeying the rules. All the other browsers did something, and Explorer did something else, like it always has. Because basically, and this is something I'll get into later, Microsoft had designed their own custom tags in HTML and their own custom behavior, which is something that's starting to happen again, but it's being pushed by other people instead of Microsoft now. Well, anyway, because all these browsers had different quirks, any web app you had to write, I'm sure all of you know this, you had to write it once for every single deployment platform you had. And JavaScript behaves much more differently then than it does now, and now there's a lot more uniformity. Okay, yeah, let me put this in presentation mode. What do you think about that? Yeah. Okay, in 2006, right after GWT started being, I think they added it as a presentation late to I/O, but they did present it at I/O 2006. And later that year, jQuery came around. And jQuery is, you know, as you all know, well, a great way to run JavaScript in the background on the internet. 2007, the iPhone was launched, and everybody had to have an iPhone. 2008, Apple's App Store was launched, and then they had started releasing actual apps, and everybody had to have an app that presented their UI instead of just a web page. And there are obviously drawbacks and advantages to that, but I think it was best for us. I think we were the people that benefited for the most, the people that actually wrote the apps. People that actually consumed the apps were hurt because you had essentially non-uniformity of user experience, which I know people like to have the native Apple experience, the native Android experience, and that's okay, but I think to have, if you have one set of developers doing your Apple and one set of doing your Windows development, one set of doing your Android development, and you have it looking all different with different themes, it's really bad for your brand. But, you know, who am I? Oh, good. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, 2011, jump forward. Oh yeah, okay, 2009, GWT 2.0 was launched, and somebody had the bright idea to put together something called PhoneGap. PhoneGap, if you guys don't know it, lets you wrap a web app in a native platform app, so that all your HTML and web content sits on your device, but acts native because it can interface directly with all the hardware, with the APIs that the device exposes, and it can make a web app really useful, but it runs natively. 2010, the iPad was launched, and everybody had to have a tablet, just like they had to have an iPhone 2 years before that. Then you guys remember the thing that was this size, everybody had to have one. Everybody's kid had to have one. It was, I think, crazy. It's still kind of that way. My kids all have a tablet. I've got 4. Thanks. And later, the Chrome Web Store came around, and I don't know. I think that was one of the unsung heroes of development. I think the web store is just pretty amazing. Some of the things you can find on there for Chrome are just awesome. I mean, the problem is, I think, that you have a limited exposure platform. You can't run it in, I don't know, Safari or whatever. You have to have Chrome. You can call that a limitation. But the things that are out there are, I just think, cool. I remember when I saw Angry Birds for Chrome and thought, this is a web app? I don't know if anybody else saw that, but it's doesn't look like a web app. It looks like a real game. And there's a couple others like that I might talk about later. Okay, 2011, a few things happened. One of them is that in GWT, which is essentially a mobile Google Web Toolkit, mobile version of it, which took a lot of what GWT had done and exposed it such that if you wrote user interface classes, they would compile down to a different version depending on what device you were on. So if you're running the browser on the embedded browser on an iPhone, it looked one way. The embedded browser on a Windows phone looked another way. It looked like a native Windows app or a native Windows phone app. On the Android embedded browser, it looked like a native Android app. And I played around with it then. I haven't done a whole lot with it since because I'm not dedicated to that purpose. I get paid to do other stuff. But it's pretty neat what you can do. Oh yeah, and then later that year, PhoneGap was open sourced as Apache Cordova. So I don't know if anybody's. Can I see any hands at anybody that's used PhoneGap or Cordova? Okay, so I think that's really cool that you can write all your web content in I don't know however long it takes you, and then you wrap it with PhoneGap, and you. Well, it's slow, but I know there are workarounds that I've come up with that. I mean, I'm not a genius or anything. I'm just saying that I came up with a few workarounds to make it where I couldn't tell the difference between my.
Not all the hardware.
And now there are plugins for almost every device you can find on your hardware. But okay, 2011-12, JavaScript got a lot faster because of optimizations and different versions of JavaScript that people were throwing around, ASM.js. I remember seeing a debugger for the first time in 2000, I think it was 11, where I was debugging from Java into JavaScript, and I thought that was really neat. And then last year, 2013, I mean, we saw HTML templates in the W3C additive draft, and this year in the first quarter, if anybody's paid attention, there have been a ton of proposals put forth that are basically going to change web user interface a lot. custom HTML elements, and this is what I was talking about earlier. I remember the first time I saw a div tag. I thought, oh, that must be another Microsoft element that they just added and thought was cool. Well, it turned out it's the generic tag that everybody uses. But Microsoft had a ton of generic, a ton of user interface HTML elements that nobody else recognized, and they didn't recognize some of the others that were supposed to be in the standard. Well, now the new W3 standard, W3C proposal is pushing custom HTML elements for whoever wants to do it. As long as you register it with the right people, it's going to be recognized. And I don't know. That seems kind of scary to me because it seems like we're going back to Microsoft, but we'll see. There's another thing called Shadow DOM, which is where you're going to be able to have one document embedded within another, and you can do your research on that. It would take kind of a while to explain it. HTML imports, I think, is cool. You can just include one HTML document into another. Something that should have been in there for a while. And CSS grid layout, something I haven't really investigated a whole lot, but I've heard some on the web. I don't know if anybody remembers the GWT Quake 2. Okay, does anybody remember Quake 2 or Quake? Okay, it was I thought the greatest game ever back in 1996 or whatever, and I spent way too much time on there and made my wife really not like me for about 6 months. But anyway, I got over that, and then I think in 2008 somebody actually put together a version of Quake 2 using GWT, and basically showing everything you could do with GWT. I actually looked for and found the source code, but I was compiling it earlier today so that I could deploy it and run it. But I had actual work to do, and I had to stop it because it was taking all my resources. So I can't show you that. Angry Birds for Chrome was written in GWT. Other things like Google Groups, AdWords, and AdSense, very, very big apps, were written in Google Web Toolkit. In Google Sheets 2.0. Does anybody here? Well, if you use Google Spreadsheets, then you probably noticed sometime in the last year that they put up a notice. This spreadsheet is using old Google Sheets, and the new API or the new Google Sheets offers you so much more benefit that you didn't get before. You can have, I think, an unlimited number of cells, a much larger limit of formulas in each sheet, and I use Google Spreadsheets all the time. Every day, I'm almost always looking at one doing something. So I think Google Spreadsheets is the bomb, thebomb.com. Now at present, GWT. We all know there are a billion different ways you can put together a web app and deploy it. I mean, you can write it using any language, library, framework you want to, and you can get the same results using any one of those. I like GWT because it's pretty simple. I mean, you write everything in Java, and it compiles down to this uniform JavaScript that can run on, theoretically, any browser. In my testing, I've seen that the uniformity is there. I mean, it doesn't misbehave a whole lot. I've had one app that I ran in Safari and in Chrome, and there's like 1 pixel difference, and I think that was like the only thing I've ever seen that was different. But it's got perks. At Google, there are 1,000 internal users, developers that are currently writing GWT apps, and there's a bunch of their enterprise applications that are written using that. And externally, there are at least registered 100,000 registered developers from the SDK. Okay, so that's basically like a history. To go into what the GWT is, the Google Web Toolkit is, it's essentially made up of 4 components. The first one's the compiler, translate the Java that you write into JavaScript. No small task going in. Now that they've got it perfected, it's pretty cool, I think. It's got development mode, which is what I call a debugger. It lets you look at, in real time, while it's running, the JavaScript and the HTML5 and the user interface in a debugger, and if you got your IDE up while it's running, you can actually watch variables change and things like that, which, I don't know, I think that's pretty neat. When they first put it out, it was, I think it only ran in Chrome, but now it's compiled into a native plugin that you have to download into every browser. And then there's the JRE emulation library. This is what allows you to have classes like, I don't know, I can't think of any, but the native Java classes that you would usually interact with that you wouldn't see in JavaScript, there's just a ton of these classes that are already compiled in. And there are a few quirks, like I think date. You can't do certain things with date because they didn't want to replicate a deprecated API. And then there's the Web UI class library. It has all the web components that you might want to use. And from here, I'm going to jump out of the presentation and look at the GWT showcase to show you exactly some of the things that it will give you. Okay, so you got your checkboxes. No big deal, right? Radio buttons, custom buttons. You have essentially a data grid. I mean, this is a kind of a lame data grid, but it still works. It's lame because it renders everything all at once, and so if you have a ton of cells, it's going to render everything all at once and make it kind of hard to use, especially if you have a ton of columns. That makes it really hard to render. And well, I guess I don't need to go through every single component in here, but you see that there's essentially all the basics are there that you might want to use. Now, because this thing's been around for a while, there are a number of frameworks and libraries that sit on top of the GWT. And one of the first ones that popped up that I really liked was called Smart GWT. And I can't remember the name of the company that it's Smart Bear or Smart something. It's not Smart Bear, it's something else. But see, it's on there. Smart Client is the name of the company that has that. And where I was picking apart that data grid a minute ago, this data grid is, I don't know, I think it's pretty awesome. You can scroll and it renders and it retrieves all the data in real time and only displays what is on your panel, what is visible on your panel. So if I scroll to the right, see it wasn't there a minute ago. That's good for the client because it doesn't, keep it in a div so that even though you only see this, all this is rendered. It's unmanageable. And I think a data grid is one of the core components that people always get wrong in their apps. So there's that. There's a calendar. Let's go and find it. Say what? You can pay for it. Yeah, they will ask you to pay for it. But there is a downloadable version that's LGPL, I think. I'm sorry, I had that page up earlier, but I just missed it. Yeah, I actually downloaded the latest version, which is 4.0 something. It was a release paper earlier today, and yeah, everything they write, I think they started off with open source, and because they had some agreement with Google, they've got to keep it up. But they definitely want to charge for it because all the links you see when you go to the download page are like, download the free trial, download the commercial version, and then down at the bottom there's tiny letters, download the LGPL version. there are so many little, well, I guess big components they've added in here. I mean, I think Smart GWT offers pretty much everything you might want to do with an app. Now, there's things like, well, I won't criticize it yet, but here's their actual demo application. Keep in mind, this is all run inside a web browser. I don't think it looks like a web browser. I think it looks like more like a native app. And they're basically, they have a data source in the background that they're using to retrieve all the data. And let's see. I mean, you can see basically they've got, you can populate these data grids and tables with the details that this thing retrieves asynchronously from a back-end database running on a server. I don't know, I'm not sure if I ought to go into a whole lot more detail about that. Maybe just that it's there, and if you want to do something in GWT, I'd say start with Smart GWT because it gives you a lot more accessibility than just GWT does.
What's the selling point?
It's more and dressed up, yeah. I mean, because you know, with what you get with the standard GWT is checkboxes, radio buttons, you know, basically all the standard HTML form elements. Smart GWT has these data-driven, asynchronously data-driven data tables. They have a calendar widget that you know, it looks kind of like a data grid, kind of like a calendar, and you can view it by day, week, month, and all these are built in. And again, I mean, I'm gonna say all this again. I know you can write a web app that does all this in a different way. I'm not saying this is the best way. I'm just saying I really like it. And here's a data-bound timeline, which is cool because it's you know, actually it's not exactly a calendar. It's everything on a horizontal axis with different what are they called, swim lanes. So what? Yeah, this is all the free version.
And it's not doesn't expire?
No, no. I've actually got an app I'll show you in a while that I put Smart GWT into 4 years ago, and it's still got me. It doesn't, not complaining.
Are you upgraded?
No, no, I'm not begging for paying. Oh, no, it was there. Okay, so there are some of the frameworks that you can use. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay, yeah. To go into the basic anatomy of a GWT app, I think, I mean, as painful as it is, the best way to do it is for me to go through the wizard and create an app and let you see what it creates. And it'll take just a minute. And I hate when people do this in presentations, but it doesn't take that long. Okay, so I go, first off, this is using Eclipse. You don't like Eclipse, I'm sorry. I haven't done this before, I don't think, in IntelliJ, but I know you can. Basically, you just have to install everything into your SDK, and using the SDK manager, the Android SDK manager, or not the Android SDK, the whatever SDK manager, and make all the libraries available in the right place. And when it's all set up correctly, which you can do from instructions on the GWT website, you go File, New, Web Application Project, and I'm going to call it demo.com.gbanta.demo, and I'm not going to use the App Engine because I want to be faster and gets put together quickly. And that, if I remember right, yeah, it gets put together pretty quickly. And all you'll see is this this demo.gwt.xml. This is the configuration that tells the framework what libraries you're using, what your source and what your client and server library, what your client and server code is going to look like, essentially, so it knows how to navigate it when it's on your server. And what else? That's pretty much it. So I've got client code. And again, this is straight out of the wizard, so I didn't do any of this. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Better. Okay, let me get to where I was going first. Okay, so here's the code that it generates. The application has to, or the main class has to implement this entry point interface, which is kind of like a standard thing you might expect to see. The namespace is, or the package is com.google.gwt.core.client. And the very first thing that's called in any GWT application is onModuleLoad, and in that method you would put together all your initialization code. Depending on how you build your UI, you could actually construct your UI in that method, which is usually what I do. There are other ways to do it, like you can actually have your UI skeleton in an HTML file, which is what this app does. So it starts. I mean, again, this is the default app that the wizard puts together. All it has is a table. Sorry. A table and one row, or one element that's a name field container, and one element that's a button container. And the app will go into the DOM and find those IDs and insert elements into them once that onModuleLoad happens. So you'll see it finds the name field container and adds name field, which is a text box, and into the send button container it adds a, oh great, the dreaded spinner. What did I do? Oh, I killed Eclipse. Yes, I know. Okay. Why does this always happen in presentations? Yeah, Murphy's Law is for the people that don't prepare correctly. I'm thinking about too many things happening in my background at once. I've got Eclipse. I've got a couple other things running. I've got this Android screen mirroring going on. Okay, and because it crashed, it didn't load into the right workspace. Yeah, my fan's spinning hard. Okay, well, rather than holding up the presentation, my point was going to be that you have all this client-side code that's builds your UI, and essentially constructs a manipulatable DOM from JavaScript. And you can do it with starting from HTML, or you can do it completely inside JavaScript initialization, which is what I prefer. There is a very nice model for interacting with the server side via RPC. So if you want to have data-driven elements, you can asynchronously call to the server and do a whole lot of AJAX type stuff that you would usually do in other web apps. And you know, that's it. Let me see if I've got Eclipse again. Okay, there's Eclipse again. As I said, I basically it adds in those 3 fields: the name field, the button, and an error label that gets triggered when certain events happen. And if I go in and run this app, which I do by right-clicking on the project in Eclipse and hello. Okay. Run as well as debug as a web application. In debugging, I'll be able to actually see events happen. And I'm hoping that when Eclipse died a minute ago, it didn't leave some zombie process hanging on development mode, like sometimes it does. Good, it didn't. Okay. This is what the app's going to look like. This is the HTML before the JavaScript initializes. Before the Java compiled JavaScript initializes those user elements and adds them into the UI. It does not run this slow when you run it on a real server. Like it's only this slow because it's in dev mode, and it's interpreting everything as it goes. And unfortunately, I can't really show you. Well, I do have one example that I can show you. You're welcome. As soon as I get done with this one. In the console, you'll see events happen as they come by. And I'm sorry. Maybe we ought to bypass this one because it's really slow. Okay, there it is. So we have the text field into which you can type whatever you want, and a send button, or you just hit enter, and that triggers the code to send a message containing that text to the server, and the server replies back with the RPC response. And you know, it basically does a little bit of browser investigation on the server side and returns back the results, and that's it. And this is all in the stock Wizard app. So you know, you build your own app from here. Yes. Sure. So we were looking at the client code a minute ago, demo.java. Now what that does to actually do the server-side work is it invokes this greeting service, which is an RPC method that you have to do the RPC call, you have to implement an interface that defines the methods that your service is going to implement, and then the async method, which calls a callback, and then your actual method. And these are just for show. I mean, I kind of wish there was a wizard that would throw all these together when you wanted to do a new method, but I've always had to do it by hand. The implementation of the RPC looks like this. So when you call greet server on the client side, It first validates the input on the server side. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay, first it validates the input on the server side, and then it investigates it does the browser investigation, the servlet context investigation, and returns all that in the return value, and that's what you saw come back. In the interest of expediency, I won't go through doing that in the debugger because it takes a little bit of time. I'm afraid it'll take too long, given what just happened. So yeah, that's right. Right now, I just I right-clicked on the demo project and said debug as web application. Now, it may be intuitive, but the difference between run as and debug as is run as there's no debugger attached. Debug as lets you actually put breakpoints into your code, and let's say you wanted to see what came from the client. When you hit the submit button, you hit it. Well, I guess I can do that. If I put a breakpoint here, right after the validation on the server, this is going to ask me if I want to launch the debug perspective of Eclipse. I say yes. And this is debugging, again, the server-side code. I think it's actually a little bit cooler. You can debug the client-side code, but that's, whatever. So we are here. And in a minute, our variables will come up, and we'll see what the input is. It's whatever you want, exactly what it types. So then just like you might expect to do, you say resume or step over or whatever you want to do in your debugger to debug what you want to figure out. In this case, I'm just going to resume, so because there's nothing in this particular app that is wrong yet. So there's that.
Server using, is it an actual
Jetty.
It's a Jetty.
Is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's actually a few gigantic JavaScript files because it compiles everything. It compiles permutations for everything that you say you want to target. Like when you first go in and well, I'm afraid it might take too long. And configure your app. I think it configures it to compile for all the permutations that GWT knows of. So that's basically every modern browser and every platform. But you can actually go into the properties of the project and say only target Internet Explorer because I know my clients only use that. What about it again? Oh, it compiles it to Java classes. So those are actually deployed, on a, like I said, on the Jetty server. Yeah, and like you could put all this on any server that can run servlets. Tomcat is obvious one, but I guess you can put it anywhere, WebSphere or whatever.
The relative performance on it versus, I don't want to say just Jetty versus Tomcat, but means overall very performant.
I haven't. I mean, I would like to say that it is, but I haven't done a good enough survey to be honest about it, where I could give you stats. And I mean, I could probably sit here and do a Google search on performances of one versus the other, but I'm just not well versed enough in that to be able to tell you. See, if I didn't say it already, I'm not a web developer. I'm a developer, and when I have a need to write an Apple user interface, nowadays I use this because it's fast for me to develop it. And whereas it used to be I might write a quick Windows app or a quick script to do something. You know, if it has a user interface at all now, I use this, and I've been doing that for about 4 years. And all that said, it might be going away. I mean, Google has designs on other languages making them the prime thing. This is really kind of just I think a paradigm of doing things, a prototype maybe. I don't know if the GWT is going to last. I mean, I'll get into that later. Yeah, this is actually what I was talking about. Y'all might have seen Dart come up over the last year. It does a lot of very similar things to what the GWT does. It's not, you know, compiled from JavaScript. It's its own language. But and again, I haven't done a whole lot with Dart. I just know basically what it is and how you write the stuff in it. But it seems like a kind of a shot across the bow from in-house to me anyway. That they either they're just throwing mud at the walls and seeing what sticks, or they're hoping this one's going to win over this one. Who knows? The obvious question that I think anybody would ask about this is, why would you ever use GWT? And my answer to that is, why would you go native? Why would you write anything in Android? Obviously, if you can get just as fast performance out of your app. If you can't, you got to go native, especially if you're doing like games or video or something. But in my own experimentation, which some of it's proprietary, I can't really go into. I have hooked up an HTML5 video tag into my GWT, and I had a big app wrapped around it that you couldn't tell it wasn't native. I can't show that now because the people wouldn't want me to, I think. But again, everybody here knows there's 1,000 different ways to do things. This is just one. I think I can show you that other app that Chris is familiar with. And for those of you who don't know what BMI is, we are a performing rights organization. That's this place where we're sitting right now. I work here, and a while back, one of the things we had to do was monitor the radio played audio, the audio coming out of radio stations around the country, and we didn't have a really expedient way of auditing the audio coming out of those stations. We had to go into one of several apps and download it to your desktop and then listen to it. It was just not real. It was kind of unwieldy. So my boss or somebody came to me one Friday and said, "Hey, can you put together a quick app so they can do this?" And as happens with those things, it became a production-supported app, you know, in like 3 days. But I was pretty proud. It only took me 3 days to get them something to start with. Of course, it lingered for months after that, where I was actually, you know, dumping more and more effort into it. So if I'd put proper design into it, it wouldn't look like it does now. But sorry, all that talking, I forgot where I was going. I don't even have to go here. Here it is. This is Aardvark. And the utility of it is that it allows you to search a list of stations that are monitored by BMI. It brings up the results into a smart GWT data grid. And when clicking upon one of these elements, we'll play the most recent audio clip retrieved from that station. Hopefully.
Straight up the board, we can get a reading on the scale.
And
now the standard rings report 27.
Because of the poor design of this thing, I'm still supporting it today. But you know, for it was basically all the effort, the core effort that was put into writing it was done in about 3 days. and I'm kind of proud of it. And I've put together more polished apps since this one, but I think this is probably the least offensive that I can show you guys that nobody would actually mind. Let's see. Another thing that I started to write that I haven't quite finished is some of you might know that BMI used to own the intellectual property that Shazam built its apps off of. So recognizing a phone, recognizing a song using your phone, that was actually BMI's intellectual property. They owned the patents. Somebody at Shazam developed it. BMI bought it, but then they leased it back. Kind of one of those complicated business things. But because we owned it, we were constantly recognizing audio and we had our own recognition clusters here locally. And we still do, but we're not processing nearly the volume that we used to. So I have this web app that I put together, but I've never finished because there hasn't been a demand for its features yet. I mean, I had somebody actually say, "How come we don't have this just yet?" And so I started writing it, and then nobody actually pushed back and said, "Yeah, we need it tomorrow." So I never have finished it. But the idea is rather than recognizing a one single block of audio with one result, which is what Shazam gives you, the idea is that you want to break it up into discrete segments, specifically 10-second segments, and recognize each 10-second segment, and consequently collate all the results into one consistent one timeline that tells you what was played for the entirety of the audio block. So you could submit a 1-hour audio block, and it'll tell you what how long Lady Gaga was at the beginning, and then Steve Miller after that, and I don't know why they'd be on the same station, but who knows. So the app is called Shazam It. Not really a whole lot to show because the server became incompatible with the timeline widget that I put together initially. So it used to work like 6 months ago, but then it stopped working because of, well, logistics basically. And I'll make it work again eventually. Obviously my security is really tight because the password doesn't matter what it is. But let's say I'm going to choose a file or files to upload, and it will recognize. It'll submit them for recognition on a separate database, on a separate processor. Let's see. Sorry. So here I submitted the build Charlotte Trio, Godchild, and unfortunately it was unparsable because I know that's a MP3 file that's corrupt. How about Elvis Presley? Well, okay. There's not going to be anything to show anyway, except if I have the debugger connected over here, because the timeline component doesn't work. So here you can see it actually working in the background. This is my log output. And it was recognized as In the Ghetto by Elvis Presley. It'd be better if it was actually in the user interface, but that part's broken right now. Sorry. The point is it's doable. And I don't know.
So whenever it grabs, let's say flashlight, it doesn't tell you just which song it was. First of all, it gives you a range of songs that match it. But also and scores each of these. But also it says not only is it this song, but it starts at second 36.12345 in the song, and the time is skewed. It was actually played 1% faster than the original recording.
Yeah, the algorithm tells you that. The app doesn't.
Yes, this one says the algorithm gives you all this data. So there's lots of other cool things you can do with it that Shazam doesn't give you access to.
And I said earlier, we had been and we still are processing audio recognitions in-house on a local set of machines. This actually doesn't hit those. This hits Shazam. This actually submits the audio to Shazam servers and does it there. So this is kind of like a proof of concept that we could do a hat process using Shazam, not Landmark. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I can try to answer questions, but I don't know if I'll be able to because, like I said, I only know what I know. Is it? Eat more pizza. Yeah.
So you're doing that just on that side, both
Yes.
and sort of.
Yeah. That Shazam It app that I wrote, it actually does quite a bit on the server side that you don't see. I have the user administration, which there's no reason to show you that. All the server-side configuration settings, like whether or not this guy can invoke this method, or if he's in this Western time zone, or the Pacific time zone, or Eastern time zone, or whatever. All these things have to be stored in a local database, which I've got. I'm actually using Derby. I don't know if anybody's ever used that, but it's like a Java native database that you can just put directly into your code. It stores the database contents into a file system locally, and that's kind of an alternative if you don't want to go to your enterprise database for this piddly stuff. So there's the configuration database stuff. There's all the calls to. I mean, just talking about the Shazam It app that I was doing a second ago. So I've got all my UI classes. Oh yeah, I can show you this real quick. In the designer, you can do all you want, just like you might with a regular IDE. So let's say I've got my main GUI. The designer takes a minute, so hopefully it's not going to crash Eclipse like the other thing did. But you can manipulate all your UI using a designer instead of code if you'd rather. I usually go to code because I think you can do things a little bit faster. Obviously, that's not always true, but well, while that's loading, I can show you another thing that I kind of forgot about. Okay, so this is a GWT application, and it's basically just a proof of concept saying that you can go to the accelerometer, and the refresh rate up there is a lot slower than it is here. I mean, the instant I hit start, it started showing me the X, Y, and Z axis values from the accelerometer, and they're refreshing probably every 20 times a second on here. I guess this frame rate's more like once every 5 seconds, or 1, 2, 3 seconds maybe. You can access the camera, you can access the compass, you can access, well, the local contacts. So, again, this is just the proof of concept that you can do all this stuff.
Is this an app or is this?
This is, it's a web app wrapped in Cordova or PhoneGap, which makes it into a native app and then installed on that phone.
So it's not You don't have to go to a browser on your phone.
No. You launch a native app, which is the PhoneGap. What PhoneGap gives you, and what all PhoneGap does is it launches a web view inside the app and shows you the HTML content. And you can, if you want, have like a hybrid app that does both native stuff and goes into the web view for only certain other things. Or if your app is kind of lightweight, like most apps are, and just shows lists and things like that, then all you need to do is you can do that all in HTML pretty easy. I'm sorry, after you what?
So,
yeah. Well, you can do it as a model view controller. You can really, I mean, there's an MVC kind of paradigm that they push, but just like in any framework, you can write it in using any structure you'd like. The events are processed just like they would be in a web app. So you only have, I think, one thread. But you can, just like in a web app, offload all your work to the background thread. So, you know, you can pretend that it's multi-threaded. And that's actually what this Shazam app is. It fakes, I think, 20 threads, pretends that it's got 20 threads, do its actual recognition work. Oh yeah. So here's the Shazam it in the designer. It's not usually this slow. It's because I've got all this crap going on at the same time. I'm doing my screen mirroring and I'm doing the debug session and whatever the heck else, or that presentation. I got Xamarin open. And I've got another whole other version of Eclipse running too. Oops. Yeah. So this just shows you the app open in the designer. In the designer, you can drag any of these widgets that you want to onto your UI. If I configured my app to also use the Smart GWT, all the Smart GWT apps widgets appear in that palette. Palette or palette? Palette. Yeah, and so you could put the cool data grid that I really like on there or whatever. Again, you know, that's it. Yeah.
So just a comment on the I went to I actually haven't written anything Smart GWT. I've used GXT and also Bodden is what I use now.
Yeah, Bodden's. I haven't mentioned it, but I only kind of pushed Smart GWT because I didn't want to get into all the others. But there's Bodden and there's XGWT. If you go to the if you go to any of these any of the GWT websites, you'll see that there's these others plugins or things that sit on top of GWT that make it better. And if you to configure your app for sorry to interrupt you, but I'll stop in a second. If you go into your XML, it's really simple to configure it for any of these extensions. Smart GWT, XGWT, GWT-X. I think you said this one, didn't you? Okay.
So I went to the
Oh man, I've always wanted to go to this.
yeah, which was last year, and then
It's gonna be in 2015 too.
January, yeah, is the next one. Basically, so the essentially we want the DXT and modulator and they are really
Was there a bunch of Europeans there?
well, from Finland.
Yeah.
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 But they're, I mean, they're but yeah, no, they're, Google is
Yeah, they give that impression that they're still behind it. They give the impression that they haven't stopped doing it, especially if you look at the fact that they've just basically released Google Sheets 2.0, and that's a big thing, a really big thing. And I think I remember hearing that they wrote part of Google Maps in it too, but I don't know what part. Obviously, that's another big thing, but I don't know what. Which, yeah, everybody complains that when you actually go. I mean, since we're just sitting here, when you actually, usually in Eclipse, when you have an app, your code just sitting there, it compiles, while you wait, and you can keep doing stuff. If you wanted to actually native compile your GWT app into JavaScript, it takes a while. You have to go right-click on your project, Google GWT compile, and I'll let you see how long it takes. You pick whether you want error, warn, info, what log level you want in your code, and whether you want it obfuscated, pretty, or detailed. Like, obviously, obfuscated is going to have all your JavaScript lumped onto one line, and your classes are named to A, B, C, and D, and stuff like that. So it handles that for you. Takes a little bit longer to compile though. So you do detailed or pretty, whatever. Say compile. I'll let you watch while I wait, because this can take. I think it usually takes about 2 minutes for this project.
And in the meantime, I have a request. Somebody watching online requested that we go around and introduce ourselves and what we do.
Oh, good idea. Well, maybe now's a good time. Well, okay, but that's where we are now. Were you done? Okay. Any more questions?
Real quick, is there anyone here that doesn't use a Meetup site? This is the link to today's survey.
Nope, I'm done.
We got some good prizes tonight. We got 3 full site cards.
Yeah, that is a fabulous audio prize.
And contacts. So,
Yeah, we all may need to speak a little bit since we don't have a remote mic tonight. So I'm Chris Ray. I currently work at Berkeley Intermedia in Brentwood, and I've previously been primarily a back-end developer for web services for different apps, but now working on Android apps, specifically the TED mobile app, TED Talks.
Woo!
So we actually have a TV version that got demoed at I/O. The prototype hardware that's over there now, and also doing a Chromecast version, or adding Chromecast ability to the regular mobile app in the next few weeks. So that's a short version of that.
Here's what it was. Your company?
Mercury Intermedia.
Okay. I mean, get tomorrow.
Oh, you Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So go see me down there.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Karen McCarthy. I am the database administrator at Vanderbilt, their anesthesiology for informatics group. And this mobile development is my hobby.
I'm Sue Oxford. I work for Vanderbilt as well in the clinical research. I like web applications in general. I've never done it. But I'm doing it.
My name is Adam.
Trying to look at myself and
All you guys are from Vanderbilt. Wow. Do any of you know each other?
No.
Wow.
My name is JT Lyle. I worked for a startup for a couple of years. About a year ago, doing mobile development, and we stayed home back for a year and a half and kind of got into it.
Mark Scott, I do IT work, especially that Tennessee. I also did some stuff. We don't do
Daniel, I'm a JavaScript developer for NC. Also looking into hopefully going into Elasticsearch and
Aaron Fan, I'm a development manager at Deloitte, part of the Global Center of Excellence, teams doing iOS, Android, just
Yeah, where's Adam?
Adam is tearing by his up, out of his house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And also, so he's pretty big.
Ah, big whoop. You're both Aquino?
Yep.
Brothers?
Yep.
I'm Zach Pollock. I work for Oculab, so they do global cybersecurity center for security components in the Android operating system. Since switched to that, now I'm doing situational awareness with Android OS and everything else on.
I'm Sear. I work down as a full stack developer in Mentos. So we're out there IT company developing one app. Done some mobile stuff. Pass it over to the data.
Scott McIntosh, I work for the Management Display. We have a national hospital and healthcare business that we're about to start selling an application. We're actually licensed in a company called Boba. And I'm also part of a startup that needs an application, so I'm just trying to all the different options and all these.
My name is Heward Dyson. I'm a web ops engineer over at Change Healthcare. And I'm also a founder of mobile app solutions for TV.
Bill Jones, I'm sorry for going to this group. I'm currently doing .NET system technology.
Joseph Banta, I just presented, and hopefully you remember.
Exciting news. We love giving away Chromecast. The Chromecast just turned 1 week. Last month, I believe. Anyway, so we're giving away 3 months free access to anyone that owns a Chromecast. If you go to that link there, links to the Chromecast and Office page. I think it's Google All Play Services.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like it's like a $30 value. All you have to do is sign up. You have the.
And what does that get you again?
3 months access to Google Home. Yeah, just talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Free stuff. You have a spinning wheel?
Okay, has anybody not registered on the survey that wants to? Because not everybody has a computer, it doesn't look like. Okay. Well, it's in order to we're gonna give away some prizes for the people that are still here.
Oh, okay.
And if you
My wife is yelling at me right now. I'll still take the survey.
okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah.
You have Chromecast in order to do that
You get the free offers.
I think it's only for any or newly activated Chromecast. I think is what it is.
No, it's for all Chromecasts. It's just if you have an account. Yeah, you have a Chromecast.
Make sure, I'm just trying it out. Oh wait, the Chromecast is back early. It's like we.
Yeah, you probably have to do it on side. I think you can't already subscribe to the
Oh, that's what it was. You can't have previously subscribed to All Access. Or
Don't read that.
whatever it's called.
Is it ready? Okay, I actually think this is almost worthy of a presentation itself. We have the form for the survey wired up to have its results dumped into a Google spreadsheet. I have this web app wired up so that it automatically reads the contents of that spreadsheet and puts them onto a Wheel of Fortune, which spins automatically when I refresh the page, but it also has interactivity. Now I downloaded the code. If you Google Wheel of Fortune HTML5, you'll find the project that I copied to do this, but they didn't have the wire in to put the content from the spreadsheet. So I take credit for that part, which is a big win. No, this is just plain HTML. And hopefully, yeah, you see all your names up there. Uh-oh. I don't know where my audio went. It's supposed to howl and hoot when that happens. So Sue Osgood, you are the.
You get a full site card.
Cool. Oh yeah, are we going to name what we're giving away first? Oh, and I should have said before we started doing anything, I actually wired this up to GD- today. So if you go to gdg-nash.org, you can play this game all you want. Oh wait. I don't want to let it stop yet because I don't think we have our prizes ready yet. Do we? Okay. So now there's supposed to be sounds that go with this, but they're not sounding right now, which makes me really angry. But oh hey. Yeah. It's on GitHub, and I mean it's actually really simple. Oh, this is in Safari. How do you view source in Safari?
Yeah, it's really
Hang on. Okay, are we ready for the next one? Now, are we going to outlaw 2 winners in the same? But
I think if you win twice, you get to pick what your prize is.
if you win, what happens if you win twice? Okay, yeah. If you win again, I'm sorry, we got to spin again. So, but we got plenty.
This one's for the headset.
Yeah, this is a magnificent. Well,
yeah, we'll get it.
You'll get it when we're done. Ultimate audio combo that has earbuds, headphones, ear encasing headphones, and a speaker.
Living stereo. Living stereo.
Then you have to add the sound.
Tom Gwynn. No! Arvin.
So,
All right.
and
So you see me after. I don't want to lose my projector support just yet.
finally the Chromecast.
The Chromecast? Oh wait, aren't we giving away the Android TV? Come on.
I'm getting fired.
So? Okay, this is for the Chromecast, the big one, ladies and gentlemen. Can I hear it? Oh! Manu Morano. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. There are sounds that go on to this. Every time it goes over that thing, it's supposed to. Daniel Aquino. Woo! And we are adjourned. Hey, does anybody have? Okay, first off, does anybody have an announcement they want to make or something they want to say about, like, are you a recruiter and you're looking for somebody, or are you looking for a job and you can talk to a recruiter? Because, you know, I think you said you're looking for an Android job right now. You know, if you feel inclined, go talk to them. You know, maybe you guys can hook up. Because this is a .NET town, right?
I guess I got 4 things. One, Mercury is looking for more Android and iOS guys. So you can send in a resume and up to somebody if you like. 2, if you have a Google TV device, or Android TV device, I'm sorry. If anybody wants to, I don't have a presentation, but if anyone wants to play around with it, we can grab a monitor or projector that has a HDMI connector. So just let us know if you want to do that. Let's see.
You should have told me it needed HDMI.
Let's see. I guess first one we couldn't make it. We didn't have the Google I/O extension last month at Mercury, and we didn't have overall in county Mercury. We had about 75 people that came, and people gave us about $1,500 for the hardware anyway.
So don't miss that next year. I mean, there was some good giveaways there.
Yeah, now that we know that Google's doing sponsors really well, that's not yet. We're
going to do it up.
Yeah, we're going to have a major event.
Yeah, I was the stupid one that said, why? You know, but
Well, see, I said, well, who showed up during the day?
that's what I said.
Yeah, I had.
What was it? It was on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it was Wednesday, from 11 to 6.
And there was like a sustained crowd of about 50 the whole time.
It was a 4-day event. For 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Conference is only Tuesday.
So anyway, we look forward to that next year, and we may find some other cool stuff based on just the amount of turnout we've had. Let's see. One more thing. Oh, I have a question. Does anyone have any magical solution for modern versions of HLS on Android?
Magical HLS on Android.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try to do that.
I need to process video that is HLS 4 or higher on Android. The Vimeo library doesn't work. Media player doesn't work. XO player doesn't work. Google says go screw yourself. So I just thought I'd ask. Okay.
Does it have to be on the device?
Yeah, it's got to be on the device. Sorry?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know the answer to that now.
So that's my 4 things.
All right, there's probably some pizza.
You think again, check the G+ site for all supplements when we ask you try to get the questions and nominations for people for the taking.
Oh yeah, and now that we've completed the survey, if you already completed it, fine. But if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see in future meetups, just dump that into any one of the fields in the.
I'll make them a real thing on G+.
Okay, because you know we're always fishing for ideas, and the fact that we kind of circulate as, we rotate as presenters is basically because nobody else wants to. If you want to present, you're welcome, and just give us your idea. Good night. Thanks for coming. Oh, GDGNash.org. GDG, yeah, we're the Google development group, right? So it's G-Nash, I can type it in big text up here. GDG-nash.org, like this. See that?
Now, what is the Twitter one?
I've never used Twitter. That's an Ed question. Ed, what's our Twitter?
Wait. It's not really.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Oh yeah, you got this.
No, that's for him. There you go.
Congratulations. Headphones, speakers, and earbuds. I can't attest to how good they are. I don't know. But they're better than nothing, right? Well, live streaming DirecTV onto a like an Android, it's not my expertise. It might. It sounded like he might have some knowledge about how to do video on Android. Streaming from DirecTV. Oh, okay. So you'd like to know about so including HTML5 video, including Flash video. Well, not Flash because yeah, it'd have to be a video tag. That'd be a good topic to have. Yeah. Probably be nice to write the prototype web app and then give a whole presentation about it. Interested? In presenting? Yeah. It's something we need to cover stuff like that more, and we're getting into it. I think our next couple of months topics are fairly solid. This guy is going to do Android TV and Android Wear next month, I think. So that's like smartwatch and that thing right there. I think that's what I understand. Ed's actually kind of solidifying that right now, but I don't know. And then after that, he was talking about doing the Android versus iPhone cage match. Now, in that, maybe it might make sense to see how you handle video.
Throw this ad or this many seconds.
Like if you're a new to how do you start from? Like there's so many things.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of why I was saying there's 1,000 different ways to write any app to do the same exact thing. You can write it.
But like, what do you recommend? Because for me, it's everything is new.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't want to take me as an authority on that because I always go to the one that I think is the coolest, not necessarily the most productive. You know, if I was going to start out writing mobile apps right now, I would want to go towards doing something like this, where I'm writing GWT apps targeted towards mobile. There's not a whole lot of people that will tell you that because everybody likes their silo. Like Android developers like to be Android developers. iPhone developers like to be iPhone developers. They would want both jobs. But
if you go out, like I was just doing stuff, there are certain third-party websites you can write apps there and ask it to compile as an Android.
Yeah, that's what the advantage of this is. You can target both from one.
So basically, when you do it with the GWT, you have the app. What do you do to host it in an iPhone or an Android phone? You put some inside some Mandala, or how does it work?
Okay. this build.phonegap.com. You can create an account there by which you upload a zip file that encapsulates all your HTML and JavaScript and everything. And there are more specific instructions than that, but you can get it on their FAQ. Well, you just upload your web content there, and then it gives you everything you need. So I'm going to try and show you, hopefully, no.
Well, basically, pick out one.
Thanks, Mario. It's good to see you.
Yeah, let's see that if there's any difference in paper. Yeah, it's just parsing errors trying to get through this.
See, here I've got my app, which was this one right here. This is actually this app. And you go to, I mean, when you upload the archive, that's just your content. It takes a couple of minutes to compile it, but you'll have artifacts for iOS, for Android, for Windows Phone, for every single platform that it targets. Now for iOS, you have to have the SDK key that Apple gives you so that you can actually publish apps. And I think maybe BlackBerry you have to have the same thing. I'm not sure. I've never tried.
That's a good starting point for me.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks. Nice meeting you.
Thanks for the presentation.
And I hope the thing works. Good to see you guys.
It's like having a runway. That's all.
Oh, my native compile took 187 seconds. 187 seconds. Yes. Six permutations.
Well, so that's the thing. I mean, that's what makes it
Yeah.
I would turn those off and on.
So yeah.
Just build.
Just build your Chrome. Yeah. Yeah, I do that when I'm kind of lazy and don't want to wait.
And then you forget to put it
Okay. Have you set up your build to run on a build server? Well, no, so it builds automatically by a script, or do you do it all from the IDE?
Well,
Yeah.
So we basically built everything in IntelliJ. We could have done or we just set an and script.
Basically, it sounded like
But we recently reached out to Banta and we've actually also moved to Maven and all that stuff. We just built.
Maven's what I was kind of wondering about.
Yeah, Maven, yeah, and like everything. That's our.
We have our production app we compile in IntelliJ.
That's how we do it. Now we just stick it in Subcat.
Yeah, I haven't actually done GWT in IntelliJ before, so I didn't want to jump into that here.
I really don't like it because that sounds good.
It's easy to hate. It's so easy to hate. Yeah. Well, it's obviously they spend a lot more time making it polished, and like because Eclipse is supposed to be everything for everybody, and you can't do that.
I've never signed up for that in my life or anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
But it's, I used to use Eclipse, I did.
Well, you had to. I mean, unless you just use a command line, which is the other way to do it.
But, no, I really like it. I'm really thankful that I get to use it, but it's really easy. It tells you it's going to plug into it.
Right now, it's probably so I'm not.
Yeah, it's I would
currently on Android.
So I just want.
Well, I know it's see it
It's not.
because
That's
I got an Excel sheet.
basically it used to be. You
My
use
name's
Yeah, I'm not sure what all
GPT,
the
now
options
it's
do,
all
but I'd like to know what all the options are.
Yeah.
I didn't
also,
I don't think
last year.
I think that was. Regardless, so you want-
Hey,
And also,
maybe
it was
it's
last year.
I've been wanting to go like high hours like now. So nice.
Well, you're one point.
Well,
no.
Yeah.
This last one, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's really basically chopping.
Just try it out.
So it's really been,
So,
Well,
words with information, but it could be as simple as just changing.
Needs to be able to have.
Rates policy.
So, yeah, you only got.
right now, this is.
Willing to be part of this.
Yeah. Just share that. It's good news for the first word again. Everything else.
So you do the math, that's like
This is tech side of business, so you can never tell.
$230.
So you can never tell what you're saying. Do a lot of uploading. I think activations will have. Should have areas.
Yeah.
But
Then
Yeah, and
I'm not going to do this.
right, and these upload tasks there, so
So you get the impression that, so, I don't think we need to.
just go to the next 2 books and then
then there's like an SDK line. That would be fun.
Yeah.
So you create new tasks,
So
you
it's-
get that template.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
really.
you give it to
Yeah.
app or
There's-
it creates tasks. Imagine like you sign it.
Yes.
As you say. I think it's
Never heard of it.
30 seconds. It's 2 days, $6 an hour. So make it 5 seconds. So then people can walk around. Yeah, you can see hundreds of that, maybe thousands of people. A lot of times, it's a lot. That's how this works. I guess they don't really care. Maybe they don't care about this.
Yeah.
They have a huge.
So they-
Where's the disappointment? Went through all these tests, all these screens I found one.
It's great.
Get a conference call at 10, like, hey, link to one of your videos so I can try it out. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
Something wrong.
There's the whole history of GWT where it has been to just upload this. I can show you some samples of things.
Yeah.
So now it's really Blackbird. Did you use it? You get answers back out. But it's, I remember quite seeing circa. It's our last the big guys.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah,
But they're developers, so it's.
Yeah, which now is TS file, you have one locally, and I haven't tried to send it to district to provide you.
Yeah, but it- Yeah, but that's an idea to have to
And what you do is you drop your,
to 8 hours a day on this.
there's also index string, but I use that a lot.
And he was there. No, they're really hard.
Like, it's a good one.
Started with that.
Get rid of that. Take it out of your
And my energy and I
We
were.
get 5.
But.
Once again, it's hard to tell.
you know, it's like I said, it's
Yeah, sorry.
Now we have one of our co-organizers, his name is Steve.
When I worked at BMI, audio processing,
He's actually
just random files that are something developing code, just loads up to over.
Yeah.
And then you go to log in and you figure out, well, what's wrong with this file?
Yeah. Even was recently make this
Right, yeah, that's how I found you.
how did you do? How did they?
Well, I was
Yeah, this one I have information.
Oh yeah, if you're on Meetup, also you notice about the other ones.
Something fun that's just
Because we use both Meetup and Google Plus for our.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you email like, hey,
I actually, the problem with Google Plus is, we used to be GDG City, and then last year,
That's why I said.
Well,
and just certain things got it's the GDG, I was thinking last year, because you're trying to so behind you, this is not I'm just we're fine. Yeah, having Google this they give us stuff. We want to give yeah, we actually, the problem is, say that, and you're going to start saying, that's possible. Yeah, take care. I'll try not to again. Let's have some people stuff. So it goes both ways. Sponsors are prices. BMI sponsors.
So what do they want us to have? How can we renew ourselves?
They have. We actually told them, because we went out to San Francisco in March, and told them that we were doing this. I think they're fine with me. As long as we're still down the road. There's a whole suite of it's not so much have to, but it's like, yeah.
Mine has that too.
Is there something faster in Chattanooga? I'm not sure. Yeah, Chattanooga's got to be. Yeah. 5-10 years. Yeah. It's probably similar to TTA, and it's
being
some
original
city, something. I can't remember. It's somehow city sponsored.
A lot of people just organize that kind of way because supposedly there's really some rumor that the organizers get together. Yeah, I was hoping it'd be all this. Me, Ed, Chris, and maybe Zach, and maybe there's another girl that named Taylor who's we were going to because we were pretty active. Also, Edwin, and I think yes. So, that's kind of motivation.
Do you want to yeah.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah, we did go to San Francisco to Google in March on their development. Basically, did all these events, how to organize, what these other users
rename
themselves.
It's
more like a fellowship kind of thing. I know they wanted to be educational because there was sessions on fundraising, sessions on how to get sponsors, and sessions on how to find topics. But so much of it was intuitive things that you just
Oh, okay.
there were things that did get pretty technical, specific, like how to incorporate it if you're worried about tax implications of accepting sponsorship.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Chapters like the Boston Chapter. Washington DC, yeah, Washington DC the same way.
Maybe that means our video skills are getting good.
And of course, there's just really good ones. But a lot of it was just stuff.
Did you bring back the
Google?
Did you bring it?
I didn't bring it. I was going to be doing our Karen.
I've seen it online. I haven't seen it in person.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, great.
No, I was very impressed.
Well, because almost everyone went that.
We'll see you again.
Well, they just didn't bring anything up because
There's one, you can go through that door right there, or that one, but it's straight that way. Yeah, sorry about that. But thanks for bringing it up. That's not really legible.
Oh, yeah, I did say that. Yeah, I can't remember.
Damn it! What am I again? That's Cool Center.
Have a good night. Thank you. Up this way, right?
No, the liquor's back here.
Why weren't we serving?
No, you can go that way. I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, you can go either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
I've never heard that phrase ever.
He works with me.
I know, exactly.
You again?
I wanted to see the thing, so I was trying to
Oh. That'd be pretty awesome. It's only about as the game's back, so. Did you ever see that?
Yes, I did. I think I was there on the screen.
He sounds like yeah, seriously. He sounds just like the old.
When he talks more.
Yeah. Give me a version of that game stuff.
So, like, okay, we got this stuff we're gonna do tomorrow, and
I invented the internet.
and everyone knows that the inside of a balloon, a Mylar balloon, is a vacuum.
Now that's just mean. It's just mean.
Inside of a Marlar balloon is a vacuum.
The inside of a Milo balloon is a vacuum. That is an Adam Gaines quote. That is a quote.